Well, today we're going to work with Hunkydory's Poinsettia Sparkle Deluxe Craft Pad. These are so wonderful. And I've got 4 projects for you, and here is one of them. You can see the poinsettias, and as that opens up, there's even more. Please, won't you come play with us? Now, what I love about these deluxe craft pads is that everything's inside. You've got 4 die-cut foiled sheets like this. So there's oval, there's an arch, there's very fancy, so I'll show you every single one. But then you also have the cardstock. So like this, you've got all over foiled, you've got edge foiled, you also have printed ones. And then you also have the inserts, which are a lighter image of the images that I just showed you. And then this one has something different. Let me get this last sheet. And looks like this. So that's another insert. It's not as ghosted back, but it is beautiful. And I'll show you how I use the other one. So we're going to get started with this first card. And in this one, I used that sheet that I showed you, the ovals. So you've got borders, you've got multiple layers. This has got 3, and this one's got 3. You've got greetings, just everything right there. And the piece that I used to make the card is this piece. And this is printed, Adorable Scorable. And you can see how I've done it on this card. So you can see this piece was on the inside. So what I did to begin, I took my 5 by 6.5 inch card, and then I cut 2.5 inches, half of it off the front. So just made that. I wanted to be able to see both of the poinsettia rows. I just thought that was really, really pretty. Now to do that, I needed first to trim right next to the poinsettias. So I just cut there. In fact, I did that on both sides. On this side, I could allow it to be the 2.5 inches that are remaining, and that worked very nicely, okay? On the inside, I just brought it from that section over to the edge of the fold, and that's all one piece, okay? So that worked very nicely. Now, when you do that, you are going to have little pieces left. And I think that these would be really nice for gift tags. So you can punch a hole in one end, you can curve the edges if you want to, put the to and from, but I think you've got some really pretty gift tags. And so I know you don't throw anything away, but this is a way to use what you save rather than just to keep it, okay? So it has a purpose. Now in this case, I wanted, like I said, I wanted the poinsettias to show. And I took this one. So I've got a horizontal and I've got a vertical. I took the vertical, I believe. Yes, the 2. And there are 3 layers, as I said. There's the outside, then there's a gold, and then the poinsettias themselves. And I can turn this like that so you can see it truly is the same image. I just did it upside down. While I loved this piece on it, I don't know that it served me well because it kind of ran into the other poinsettias. So I could have used it size-wise, but I decided to go with just these 2 layers. So when you punch them out, don't punch out the 3 individuals, just punch out the 2 in the middle, and you can take the outside frame or just leave it in the piece in the sheet to use later on. So that is what I've done here. So obviously with this, just the left side of it is attached to the part of the card front, okay? And then I also wanted to have some dazzles. So probably want to do this first, is I use the gold thin lines. There are, let me think, I think there's 31, something like that, individual borders there. And so you can see I used it on the outside edge, there we go, on both edges, and then I also used it on the center part. So you can do that before you attach this piece, or you can do what I did and add it at the end, which means then you have to kind of fussy with this and get the little edges under there, but whatever you want to do, okay? Pretty much what I do is I end up doing my card, and then I go back and add dazzles if I feel, or any embellishment to kind of jazz it up. So that's what I did. Now, I also added the gold jewel dazzles, and they are placed in the center of the poinsettia. So again, we can get in really close and see. And as you know, on the jewel dazzles, you have 3 sizes. So there's the tiniest, and that's a medium. And I just placed them in the center of the poinsettias. And I did that on the outside edge too, on both outside edges. Now, I know Lene loves the jewel picker, and I think that's great. I end up using the retractable pen knife. So you've seen me do this before, where you push this and it exposes that very sharp blade, which is wonderful. And I just end up, sometimes I have to confess, I actually sometimes stab the dazzles, and to do that you want to have something underneath it. But you can also just lift them up. Let's see, I'll do a larger one so it will show. Just lift it like this. I put my finger on it so that they don't flip all over. And then I can place it, well, let's see, let me place it right here. I can place it just like so. And it gives me the control that I want and need. And it's just easy to do. So you've got a couple of options, and I'll just place that, whoops, right there. And that's the popping that I did not want to have. Oh, there it is. See, it landed on my hand. But I can just lift it off, and like that. Okay, so now that is, and then just retract the blade. And we do have replacement blades, although you just don't need them very often. Okay, now for the inside of my card, I went back to my sheet, and this is one of the greetings, very large greeting. I just placed it there close to the fold. Also, there is another row of thin line dazzles right here. So we've got them matching on the inside and matching on the outside too. Then I did use the red ribbon set, which pretty much I used on all of these cards. So you'll see that again. And tied a bow. This is the crepe ribbon. And tied a bow and just placed it here. On the inside, I just knotted a bow, a length of ribbon. I do use zots to attach them, but then I also put a little tiny bit of the zot on each end of the ribbon tail, just to make sure it's kind of hugging that oval greeting. So that's my plan for that. Okay, this is the first sheet. So I have only used this piece and the gold and this piece. So I've got all of this left, and that's pretty much what Hunkydory does, is they plan that you're going to get at least 2 cards out of every single sheet, but in many cases I think you can get more than that, but two is the absolute minimum. Okay, let's go to our second card, and here it is. Whoops, what's going on? Okay, never mind. That's something to talk to you about. This again is my 5 by 6.5 inch card, but this time I left it white. I decided that with the white in here, it just made a really nice home for it, and I could do some other things with it. Now this is a gatefold, so obviously it's going to rest just like that. So we've got joy and peace, which are 2 things we hope for everyone. And so the first thing you'll do is to take your card front and score it 2.5 inches. That way you're going to have it evenly divided, like so. Then I took the straight line dazzles, and hopefully you have seen these. I've used them a couple of times. In the package, they are clear, and they're either gold or silver foiling on the edges, but they're all just straight line. And they are stunning because, well, I think they're stunning because they will show the color of whatever paper you have underneath it or whatever cardstock. So I took pieces and I edged the front area. Yes, I did this before I did my centerpiece. And then I also edged the other half right there. So that just gave me a good base. So you've got 8 pieces, okay? And that's what the directions will tell you. The directions are down below, by the way. Then I took this sheet, and this is the second sheet. This is called Merry and Bright, and in the directions I'll tell you which sheet I'm using. You can probably figure it out because these all have different shapes. In this case, I'm also using the double poinsettia, but also in this case I did not use the outside edge, and that was because it would get too big for my card and it wouldn't fit in the envelope. Now that's something that I'm aware of because you do want to be able to send these places. So I did not use that one, although it's beautiful, but didn't use it for this one. And then I simply took these 2 layers. Again, you want to make sure that you're handling them as one, so you don't want to separate them. Should you separate them, should that happen, just glue them to another piece of cardstock, trim around the edge so that you don't see that cardstock, and then you can handle it as one. So that will work nicely. Okay, so you're going to attach that, glue it at the bottom of this piece to the bottom of your card front. Okay, that way this is going to open. Then I took the Holly Dazzles. This is a new sheet this year. It is available individually. And I simply pulled up the pieces. So you can see the 2 holly. We've got them so they go in opposite ways. I've got the third one right there. The word joy comes from the Christmas greetings. It too is sold individually. So you can see the joy is right here. Piece is on the inside and it's right there. And again, you've got lots of others that are remaining. Now, I know that when my card is received, it's going to be like this. And when it is raised in its easel position, it's going to be like that. But I did want to do something in this empty area. And what better thing to do than to use my dazzles. Now, this kind of dazzle, I think it's very elegant on the white, but you can place the holly on, say, on green cardstock. Actually, just place it on green cardstock, and then use your 4.5-inch scissors, or these new scissors that we have, and just cut right along the edge of the cardstock. And the edge of that dazzle will sort of guide your scissors. You don't have to look on the back side, on the green side, because it may not look really pretty, but the front side will be perfect. So that's a good way. And then you can glue them down. I elected just to keep this what I thought was an elegant look with the gold on white. Now, this dotted ribbon is also in the red ribbon pack, so that's what I chose to make that bow and dot it right there. Now, on the inside of the card, I like the idea of having kind of a different look on the inside of my card from the front. It needs to match, of course, but I like to have it be kind of a nice surprise. And what I did is I used this cardstock. This is the foiled out of the kit. Everything's out of the kit. And I used it to put it on the inside here. So that worked fine. Just trimmed it down and added, but I needed something that I could lift up with foam tape. So I chose this single poinsettia and placed it just right over the top of this one. And that way it had my raised piece, and that is foam taped, of course, so that it would look like this. And I think that worked quite nicely. I like how the joy and the peace line up very well, and did that purposely. I didn't put any of the border dazzles on the inside, but I certainly could have. Now, remember I said in the first card that you've got little bits and pieces left that you could use for tags? Well, in this case, I had this piece left. So I think, again, you can do a really sweet card out of it. So, and use more of those dazzles. It's a good idea. Okay, so there's my second card. Now my third card is this one, and it is using this sheet out of the pad, the craft pad. This is called Warmest Wishes, and you can see it's got these arches and it also has circles. I really wanted to play with the arches. I love that arch shape. And what I elected to do, let me pull this just so you can see it. I elected to use this one, which only has 2 layers. It has the middle layer and then an outer frame. But I also wanted to play off of that. And I did think about using our dies, which are right here, and making an arch card. I think that looks good, but I also thought, let me do something that I haven't done before, and that's what I did here. So I needed a green cardstock that would go with this poinsettia pack, and I talked to myself and I said to myself, why not use Christmas Past, because it is the latest one and it has all of those wonderful colors, and I'm sure to have a green that I will like, and I did. So I chose the darkest green and I used the obviously the nested arch die to cut that out. And I glued that to the front of my 5 by 6.5 inch card. Pretty soon we're going to say that all together, aren't we? Then I punched these 2 out and positioned them on the card so that the arch is glued down, but this piece is foam taped. And by the way, you'll see in the listing, but whenever I use foam tape, I do use our supersized piece, because it's just is so easy to use. It's great foam tape. It's an excellent price, and you're never going to lose it, or at least until it gets really tiny. So that's the story about that. By the way, if you look at it on the product page, you'll see a little photograph of it with a little girl in the middle. That is Sarah's daughter, Sarah Newman's daughter, several years ago, but that is her daughter. So you'll see what that is. She was impressed when she saw the roll. Okay, now this also, I elected to put dazzles all over. And these are also the thin line gold dazzles. So with this, in fact, this is the sheet. Sheet was new, I think, when I started. So I did it all around the edges. And when you do that, let's get in closer. When you do that, you can take, because there's usually 2 pieces that are the same design, you can do the long one, but for the short one, you won't have enough to do it out of the same design. So it's no problem to mix them. Then I elected to do the zigzag around the arch, as you can see, and just placed it right on the green cardstock. Okay, it's safe to back up now. Okay, so that worked, I thought, very nicely. It gave me, this art is just really lovely. It almost has an elegant feel, I think, and I wanted my cards to support that elegance. Now, on the sheet, there are some little tags. This one says "Just for You." There's a winter blessings. There's this little one. There's also Warmest Wishes down here. So I tucked the "Just for You" and I glued it going underneath the centerpiece. Since it was raised up on foam tape, I could do that. But then I wanted Warmest Wishes, and I like this idea of going outside of the shape. So that's what I've done here. I've got definitely an arch shape on a rectangle, but then I wanted this piece to break out of that arch. And I think it is just more interesting that way, and I'll do that pretty often, actually. Then I went into my red ribbon set. I hadn't used the velvet ribbon yet. Look at that with that beautiful glitter. And no, it doesn't rub off. So I made that bow and zodded it in place. Now, remember when I showed you the sheet in the back of the craft pad? Let me pull it out again. This is the very last sheet of the inserts. So this one, well, there's also this one, and I loved both of them. Now, I didn't elect to use the circle on this one because I'm going for that arch shape. But this one fit perfectly into my arch. And you can see right there. So this is the largest arch. So I mimicked the front of my card, except I reversed the colors. So rather than having the arch green, I have the background green. And then I just cut into here with my arch dies. And isn't that pretty? I really like it. I also duplicated my rickrack that I have around that green arch, but this time I put it on the green background paper. Now, the other thing I did is I could have used this piece right here. It is on the same sheet as the arch, but I wasn't as thrilled with it as I was the one that I used. And I just thought, may your Christmas be merry and bright. I just like the shape of that rather than bringing in the circle. So either one would work, but that was my choice, and that's why I did it. I did it because I liked it better. And so just glued that down. Did the same thing. I've got a bow here and just a knotted ribbon. Same idea. I've knotted this down. So that just finishes it. So you've got a similarity between the front and the inside, but not a duplication. So that's what I like doing. Okay, we are on to the last card. And let me show you. In fact, here we go. It's this one. That's the one I showed you in the beginning, I believe. And this is a die cut card. How fun. And yes, I did add things to it. So in this case, let me show you the sheet that I used. It's this one. It too has, so we have an oval and an arch. And then we got two, this is a rectangle decorative edge. And we had kind of a square decorative edge that I did on that easel card. So this is the one that we're using. And in this case, again, very rich colors in the reds and the greens both. And what I did is I did the trifold surprise card. I like this shape. It's easy to do. It's one piece. And like all of the fabulous folded card dies, the instructions are right there. So it's super, super easy. And I did use, again, the Christmas Past solid cardstock because, again, you've got reds, you've got burgundies. It just works very, very nicely. So I die cut the card out of that cardstock. And I knew that I wanted to have something on the front that would be a kind of a showstopper all by itself, that I would not be showing anything from the inside of the card. I would wait to have that after the person opens the card and kind of reveals what's going on in there. So having that in mind, I selected this piece. Now there's two, there's just the center and the frame, because that was a nice size. It didn't overpower my card. I did make sure that my card would fit into my envelope, so that would be good. In fact, we have a package, it's called 10 envelopes, and it's designed to fit our regular cards, but any of the fabulous folded cards that are made using the dies will fit in those envelopes too. Okay, so I had this gorgeous piece, and I wanted to duplicate the gold, so once again, I headed back to my thin line dazzles and use those. I showed you this earlier. It's the same one, but I didn't use a zigzag. I used a more ornate edging, and that's nice because you get that choice. Now again, you have to, you get many pieces in this kind of a card, so you've got these long areas. I did the whole bottom, I did the whole top, almost the whole top, and these vertical sections too. So you've got all of that. So I wanted to make sure that that would completely cover. So then I selected the 'Tis the Season to Sparkle to go on the inside, and that's just one piece. And then I elected to use this for a very special lady. On another sheet, there's something for a wonderful guy. So you do have equal opportunity there. But it fit perfectly right there. So I just thought, why not use it? Okay, now to add sparkle to my sparkling poinsettias, I went with my Christmas Past cutting dies. And I used the Christmas Past solid, well, no, I didn't use the solid cardstock. I used everything else. So let me show you. I used the forest green suede. You can pet this. I used the green mirror cardstock, and get it out of the plastic, which seems to be easier said than done. So you can see those two greens. And then I also use the green glitter. So those three, and you can see the different finishes. And I use them on with the holly and the pine boughs. So you can see this piece I did out of suede. And so it goes, one goes here and one goes there. And they have this gentle curve, which I really like. It just did a nice job. So I glued those two down first. Then I went into the glitter. And the glitter, I used this piece. I think you could use any of them, it makes no difference. And did two of them. So my center point is right here. So I've got the two long ones going that way. Right here, I've got the glitter there and another glitter here. And then I went into the boughs, the pine boughs, and I did that out of the Miri. So it's the smallest one and it's the shiniest one. So I've got 1, 2, 3 of those. Now, the other thing that I used is, and we'll get in close so you can really see those, I used the red caviar beads, and I love these. And I do need to tell you that I think we're the only ones, Paper Wishes are the only ones who have them. So the way you can do this, now I don't use the coffee filter like I have here, but pretend that this is a bowl. And so what you'll do is you can use E6000 glue, which we now carry, or you can use the specialist glue. And all you do is simply make a little puddle, very little puddle. Let me see, where will I do this? I think I've covered them all up, but let's just pretend that there's another one right here. So I'm going to squeeze some on. Okay, note to self, don't open up the container and then let it sit while you start doing the webisode. Okay, so I'm just going to put a drop there, just like so. I'm going to put the cap back on the glue. And then I'm going to take the caviar beads. Now, when I first started using these, I thought, oh, I'm going to have to place each one with tweezers. No, you don't. You put your glue everywhere, and then you just gently pour these on. They will obviously stick to wherever the glue is, and then you tap them off just like that. The tapping will put them into your container, and then you can just pour these back into your Ziploc baggie, and that will work quite nicely. Okay, so and then the glue, of course, will dry clear, and that's all you do. Okay, so that's my card front. Now let's go to the inside. The inside, I did not do the caviar beads. I just wanted to have the 3D on the front of it. But here, I used the same suede glitter and Miri to do the cutting dies out of the Christmas Past. And you can see that big one goes here and here. Then the next one in glitter goes there and there. And then the pine boughs just go randomly. And there is another glitter one just tucked underneath where this is going to go for a special lady. And I just like how I've got these duplicated. They're just nesting around these foiled die cuts, and just works really nicely. And again, I've got the envelope that will fit them. So it just worked perfectly. So that's just 4 things that you can do with this deluxe craft pad. And this is actually going to be in stock in the next, I think, 24 hours. So you can go ahead and order it, no problem. For the money saver, that's on the right side of the screen because that's where it always is, I did add cards and envelopes so that you'll have the bases for these, and that will work nicely for you. And I love the fact that Hunkydory does this. When I was done, this is what I had left. So I had in every sheet, I had lots left. And I also had the adorable scoreable, the foiled, and the printed. So I just had tons that I could still play with. And I had all the inserts, and then I had that circle one that I have shown you 400 times now that I can't separate, but it's still there. So that will be a good one for you. Okay, there is the money saver. I did write all the directions down below for you. You can tap on each card, click on them, you can print them off, whatever you'd like to do, make any changes that you want to. But like I said, the dazzles, especially the thin line gold, the red ribbon, and cards and envelopes, that's going to take care of you. If you are watching us on YouTube, you know the drill. Please leave a comment, please like us, please subscribe, then head on over to paperwishes.com where you can see the Poinsettia Sparkle Deluxe Craft Pad and take advantage of the money saver over there. And just join us. We'd love to have you. Paper Wishes is, I think, the only company who not only will we bring you and we search the entire paper crafting world to find you things, but we also show you ideas for using them. So that is our gift to you, and I hope that it works for you. I would like to thank you for joining us. Absolutely, this wouldn't be the same without you. And many people have told me that they start their day with a webisode, and we appreciate that. So thank you, and have a good time with your Christmas card making. We'll see you next time.